Hey guys, before we begin, I wanted to say a genuine and wholehearted thank you. I know I really don't talk to you guys directly during videos. Usually the narration just starts and off we go, but I just wanted to be sure as many people as possible hear it. I don't think people understand how much support means to a smaller creator, especially one who just started this fickle business model as their full-time job. And also in an incredibly oversaturated and also niche subgenre of narrating. But it chokes me up to know people out there care about what I put out. From narrations to my music to whatever else I feel like posting. You guys make me happy, and I do what I can to bring that happiness back to you. So thank you to my horror family. All of you guys keep me going. And now it's gonna switch to the story with my Vitas22 voice on, so I'll see you guys later. My name is Anthony, and I am a heroin addict. I have been for the past several years. My story isn't about my life of depravity and drug use throughout. It is about a facility called Harmony Hills. I'm not great at conveying things, but if I can save one soul from that wretched place, then I will consider my mission accomplished. I was 25 years old, and my life had completely fallen apart. I had no more job, no more girlfriend, and I was constantly on the brink of suicide. One day, after one of my multiple daily injections, I decided that I had to get better. Most people probably don't know this, but sometimes when addicts get high, they make these extravagant promises to themselves that they will never use drugs again. They're typically always wrong. I scoured the internet for rehab facilities near me. I found a couple of promising options and was ready to call them when I checked my email. Strangely enough, I had a message from a lady named Julie from a rehab called Harmony Hills. I hadn't told anyone about my recent drug use, so I'm not sure how anyone could have known to email me. I didn't think about it too much, though it could have been my parents' doing. My mother always seems to know when I was struggling, like some parental sixth sense. I opened the email, and this is what it contained. Hello, Anthony. Are you sick and tired of your life of desperation? Are you ready for real change? Come to Harmony Hills, and we will help you become the person you were meant to be. We are a new recovery program, and we are ready to help you, free of charge. There was a phone number at the bottom. This almost seemed like it was too good to be true, and the email was kind of vague. I wasn't able to come up with any information on this Harmony Hills. There was no website, and really no information about it at all online. I had never heard of a program that was free of charge. But after another shot of dope, a familiar wave of peace came over me, and I decided to call the number. After one ring, a young lady answered. Hello, Harmony Hill Admissions, where we strive to create a better you. This is Mary speaking. Her voice sounded young and peppy. Hi, my name's Tony, and I was just calling about your program, and I kinda had some questions. The conversation went on for about 30 minutes, and I asked her all sorts of questions about the program and how in the world it could be free. She explained to me that there was apparently some billionaire who struggled with the same problems I did, and just wanted to help people. The program was 90 days, and she guaranteed me that by the end I would be a new person. Looking back on it, she was strangely pushy about it in a very subtle way. It's hard to explain, and she wouldn't really let me take no for an answer. But I was really too high at the time to notice. Her voice was comforting and reassuring, and she said all the right things. By the time the phone call ended, I had a scheduled transport ready to pick me up from my apartment in 3 days. 3 more days to get messed up, I thought. My family and I weren't exactly on speaking terms at the time, so I just sent them a quick text message telling them about this program I was going to, and I promised them I would get better. Though I had made that promise many times before, this genuinely felt different. Day 3 came, and I woke up to do my morning shot of dope to get myself out of bed. I checked my phone, and it was already 1 p.m. A surge of uncertainty came through me. Could I really do this? I really didn't want to have to go through withdrawal again. My ride was scheduled to get there at 2:30 p.m., and I heavily considered calling them to explain that I couldn't go through with it. It was too late, I thought. They're probably already on their way to get me. I nodded off for a while, and at 2:15, I heard a knock on my door. I opened it to find 2 large men dressed in white t-shirts and black jeans. They both towered above me at over 6 feet tall. One of the men was bald with a bushy beard, and the other had long, dirty blonde hair. "Hello. We are your ride to Harmony Hills." Great. I guess I had to go now. They both had this wide grin plastered to their face. They looked super fake. And their eyes. Something was empty in their eyes. "Hey, guys, yeah, I gotta do one thing." I stumbled into the bathroom to do one last shot of dope. I guess this is it, I thought to myself. After about 10 minutes, I wandered out of the bathroom, ready to go. Strangely, the 2 men looked like they hadn't moved an inch. They were still standing in front of my door with that creepy grin attached to their face. The car ride was long and boring. The 2 men hardly said a word, and we had been driving for hours. They hardly seemed to have any personality at all, and they never even mentioned their names. We made our way to a rest stop at a fast food restaurant. "This is our last stop before we get up to the mountains. There won't be any phone service or rest stops. Can I get you anything?" The large man with dirty blonde hair asked. Sure, I guess. I'll just take a large Coke." I didn't really have an appetite. "Perfect," he said, grinning as he exited the car and headed towards the building. He was in there about 5 or 10 minutes, and after a short, awkward silence, the one with the beard spoke. "I know you might be getting nervous, but Harmony Hills is an amazing place. You are really going to love it there. I did my 90 days, and it's the only place where I was able to make real change to myself. The only problem is the lack of women." He let out a forced laugh. Thanks, man. Yeah, I hope I can make it work this time," I stammered. Another couple of minutes went by, and the man came back with my Coke and a bag full of burgers and fries. "In case you get hungry," he smiled at me. Thank you. You really didn't have to do that," I replied, and he handed me my Coke. I took a long sip, and after a couple of minutes, I started getting dreary and felt my eyes start to close. When I woke up, we were in a huge tunnel that I had never seen before. "Where are we?" I asked, rubbing my eyes. We are up in the mountains now, my friend," the bearded one said with that sickly smile. The weird thing about the tunnel is that I didn't see a single other car the entire time we were in it, and the fact that we were in there for a full 30 minutes. I found it odd that I didn't even know that this giant tunnel existed at all. I peered out the window and found myself in a trance-like state, staring at the walls of the tunnel. It was so dark and pitch black. I imagined images of serpent-like creatures dancing on the wall and found myself drifting off again. This time, when I opened my eyes, I was greeted by bright sunshine and sprawling mountain forests. As we crept up the road, I saw a huge, white, hotel-like building in a clearing. If you've ever seen The Shining, it was not unlike that building. Very large with a beautiful property. "Here we are," the bearded man said. We pulled into a small parking area at a smaller building that was adjacent to the big one. "This is the detox center. You'll be spending about a week here, depending on your symptoms. I was starting to get the very initial feeling of withdrawal. A runny nose, depression. How long had we been driving for? I wondered. Withdrawal symptoms typically shouldn't start this soon. I thanked the men for driving me and headed into the smaller building. Greeting me was a middle-aged woman with curly hair, glasses, and that same unnatural grin on her face. I sat down and did an intake process with her that lasted about 20 minutes. They had me sign tons of paperwork that I didn't even have time to skim through while she spoke. She explained to me that my detox would last about 5 to 7 days, and then I would proceed to the next facility. There, they also made me hand in my phone, and 2 more men in white t-shirts came to search my belongings. Afterwards, she brought me into a room with 10 beds, all separated by 4-foot-high dividers. There was a person in each bed with an IV in their arm. Some were either resting, reading, or writing. She led me to one of the empty beds and told me to get some rest. I was starting to really feel the effects of withdrawal until a nurse came over and handed me several blue pills and some water. Now, I know my pills, and these are unlike any I've ever seen. I took them with slight reluctance and managed to doze off yet again. When I woke up, this time I noticed I had an IV in my arm, and somehow I was feeling pretty good. Usually at this point, withdrawal would be in full effect. I guess whatever was in this IV was some pretty good stuff. I sat up in my bed and called over the divider to the person in the bed to the right of me. "Hey man, my name's Tony. Crazy place they got here, huh?" The person next to me turned out to be a young kid named Alex. He was skinny and kind of nerdy, with glasses and short, semi-curly black hair. "Yeah, man, this place is insane. Hopefully it won't be too bad of an experience," he laughed. I knew I would like Alex right off the bat. He was a heroin junkie like me, and he seems to be a level-headed, intelligent, and a pretty modest guy. We talked for a while about who we were and a bit about how we got to this point, when a nurse came to remove the IVs. "Thank you," I said. The nurse smiled at me. After she was nearing the end of the row of beds, I turned to Alex. "It's really weird. I'd usually be sick as hell at this point, but I feel great. I feel like I don't need to be in this detox at all." "Yeah, me too. I don't know what's in these IVs, but I never heard of anything that makes withdrawal go away so effectively," he responds. After all our IVs were removed, me and a few of the other clients made our way across the room to another area with a TV and a couple couches. There, I met Brian, a 32-year-old meth addict, Ben, a 55-year-old alcoholic, and 2 more heroin addicts. Matt, 34 years old, and Travis, 25. For some reason, it seemed us heroin addicts got along with each other best, and we quickly formed a little group. Me, Alex, Matt, and Travis. We started getting to know each other and ended up comfortable enough to start joking around. Matt was an engineer and had a wife back at home. He was around 5'10" and, like Alex, was very smart. Travis was around 5'8" and was definitely more of a street kid. He talked about getting into fights and selling drugs. Alex ended up being 19 years old, 5'9", and was already studying to become a doctor. Heroin really can trap anyone into its grasp. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. Those days at Detox were very relaxing. We didn't have much to do besides joke around, eat, and watch TV. I was beginning to feel really good about the future, and I felt comfortable with my new group of friends. One thing I did notice, though, was that none of the people I spoke with were on speaking terms with their families at all, or didn't have any family altogether. The way the program worked was with a grouping system. A group of people went to detox and then sent to the main facility at the same time. The people that were there for 0 to 30 days were called caterpillars, and did separate activities and meetings. 30 to 75 were called cocoons, also to separate activities and meetings. And 75 to 90 were called butterflies. Pretty lame, I thought, but I was happy I would get to stay with the people I met at Detox for my whole stay. The next that happened was a meeting with our assigned therapist to give us an overview of the program and chat a bit about ourselves. This is when I started to notice that something was wrong. My therapist's name was Jeff. Jeff was a shorter guy and had a white button-up shirt with a black tie. He had a calm but firm demeanor and almost seemed like a cross between a nerd and an army sergeant. He began by handing me a schedule. The program itself seemed pretty straightforward. A typical day went something like this. 8 to 8:15, wake up. 8:15 to 9, breakfast. 9 to 10:30, group therapy or a film on addiction. 10:30 to 12, art therapy. 12 to 12:30, lunch. 12:30 to 1, free time. 1 to 2, guest speaker. 2 to 3:30, spiritual wellness group. 3:30 to 5:30, free time. 5:30 to 6:30, dinner. 6:30 to 8, free time. 8 to 8:45, reflections group. 8:45 to 10, meditation, prayer, wind down time, free time. 10 o'clock, lights out. This was all pretty average, but my conversation with Jeff was anything but. Initially, he asked pretty basic questions. He asked about my family life, what my drug of choice was, what my hobbies were. And then, out of nowhere, "Do you like the smell of blood?" This caught me off guard. I never really thought of it. I guess the smell is neutral to me, I responded. He smiled and assured me that it was all just a personality assessment. He didn't ask all the strange questions at once. It was like we'd been having a normal conversation, then all of a sudden he'd ask me, "Do you get satisfaction from hurting small animals?" This time I responded with a firm hell no. I didn't really know what to make of the whole thing. I left the office and found my way back to the main area in Detox. There, I found Travis sitting in his bed. "Dude, did you meet with your therapist yet?" I asked. He looked at me with wide eyes and whispered, "Yeah, man. What the hell's up with that? Was that some weird test or something?" "So, he asked you those weird questions too?" I replied. We went on and were eventually joined by Alex and Matt, who had similar experiences. At our final day of detox, we split up into groups of 5, and 2 peers that had been there 30 to 75 days, cocoons, took each group on a tour of the main facility. Our tour guide was named Brian. He didn't tell us much about himself. The only thing I noticed about him was the dark circles under his eyes. He looked sullen, and maybe even a bit scared. The place itself was beautiful. They showed us the kitchen, the dining hall, the study rooms, the rooms we were going to be doing meetings in. They had a gym, a meditation room, and even a sauna. The sleeping quarters were on the left side of the building, and each person had their own personal room that contained a desk for writing, a dresser, a nightstand with an alarm clock, and a bed. They were pretty small, but it seemed nice that we all got our own rooms and didn't have to share. The property was the most amazing part. There was about a mile-long trail that made a huge circle around the buildings, and even through some of the wooded areas that surrounded. Passing by some of the other clients, I noticed that all of them had the same sullen expression that Brian did. This did disconcert me. I turned to Alex, who was in my tour group. "Dude, it looks like everyone here wants to die," I whispered to him, half joking. He seemed more worried about it than I did. "Yeah, man. I don't know what's up with that. I don't like it, though." I spoke up to our tour guide, Brian. Excuse me. When did we get to use our phones? They took mine at Detox." Phones are not permitted until you reach butterfly stage, he stated. After the tour, Brian took us back to the detox, where we spent our final evening there. Myself, Alex, Matt, and Travis grouped together in the TV room. Travis spoke up first. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I kind of want to get away from this place. We all nodded our heads. Matt decided to go to the front desk. We all followed him. He walked up to the lady with curly hair. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm not going to stay in this place. I'm getting a ride home. She smiled at him. I'm sorry, sir, but that is just not possible. Matt started to get upset. Look, I just want to get the hell out of here, okay? I'm going to find a different rehab. I just don't want to be at this place. Two of the large men in white t-shirts slowly crept behind him and put their hands on Matt's shoulder. You look like you need to rest, sir. Why don't you have a seat on your bed? No, I don't need to rest. I need to get the hell out of this place. Matt was starting to raise his voice. All of a sudden, a nurse sneaks behind him and jabbed a syringe into his arm. His body went limp as the two large men grabbed him before he fell to the floor. Travis started going insane. You can't do this, he screamed and started marching towards the two men holding Matt. He had his fists up and looked ready to brawl. All of a sudden, two more, then 6 men in white surrounded us. I have no idea where they all came from. They were grinning. Travis stopped dead in his tracks. You can't do this. The lady with curly hair spoke up. If you would all please head back to your beds. We're going to be going to sleep early tonight. I turned around and saw the rest of the patients from the detox staring at us. We made our ways to our beds. I shot Alex a quick glance, and his eyes met mine. I could tell we were both thinking the same thing. What the hell had we gotten ourselves into? A nurse came and handed us all 2 blue pills and some water, and she didn't leave until she made sure we took them. She even had us open our mouths to check under our tongues and our cheeks to make sure we weren't hiding them. The men in white stood like soldiers staring at us, until one by one, we all passed out. That was our final night at detox. We were all awoken at 7:30 a.m. by more men in white, and we were told that we were being taken to our respective rooms in the main building and to bring our belongings. I grabbed my bag, and we all followed the men. Everyone was silent. I peeked and glanced at Matt, and he looked dazed. He was staring at the ground, and would stumble slightly every couple of steps. I was shown to my room, number 212, on the 2nd floor, and was told to unpack my things and then to head to the dining hall for breakfast. Soon after I started to unpack, I heard screaming. I can't take it anymore. Please let me go. I rushed out of my room to see one of the clients that I didn't recognize with 2 men in white on top of him. One had his arm in some sort of wrist lock, and the other was holding his legs down. I went back into my room, but kept the door slightly ajar so I could listen. You're going to have to calm down, one of the men said. He started sobbing. Please, I just want to see my parents. Please, I can't take it anymore. There was more sobbing, and then everything went silent. After 3 or 4 minutes, I crept back into the hallway. Everyone was gone. I noticed that there was a small folded-up piece of paper on the ground where all the commotion took place. I quickly stuck it in my pocket, and then rushed to finish unpacking. When I was done, it was 8 a.m. I looked at my schedule. 15 more minutes until breakfast. I reached into my pocket and unfolded the paper. This is what was on it. Rules for survival. Don't ever leave your room from 2:30 a.m. to 3 a.m., no matter what. Never veer off the trail that goes around the buildings, and never explore the far ends of the grounds off the trail. If someone comes to your door at night while you're trying to sleep, do not let them in, no matter what they say. They will try and convince you to come out. If you hear scratching at night, do not investigate. Stay in your room until it passes. One day during your stay, you will receive a tape on the desk in your room. You must watch it. The day will come randomly, and it happens to everyone. There is a man that appears in the meditation room at 3:15 a.m. every night for around 15 minutes. It is not known who or what he is, but I believe he is friendly. Never talk back to staff. Never look the owner in the eye for longer than 10 seconds. Never do any drugs that you are offered or find here. Sometimes random people or other peers will offer them to you. Do not take them. It is very rare, but I've heard of people waking up in the basement with no recollection of how they got there. Do not shine a light. You will have to feel your way out to the stairs in the dark. Do not interact with anyone or anything you find down there. Once you climb up the stairs, you will pass out and find yourself in your room again. If a man named Dr. Jacobs leaves a note on your door telling you to meet him in office 203, do not go. Just skip it. Never go into room 217. Never try to run away. You will pass out at some point and wake up in your room, and that's if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, the creatures in the woods will get you. If you do somehow manage to make it far enough out of the grounds, do not trust anyone offering to give you a ride. If you meet the man with no face, he may seem helpful or trustworthy. He is not. Do not interact with him. Try to stay in good physical shape. It seems that people tend to wither away if they're stagnant in this place. The staff never go near the sauna. They won't be able to hear you there. Do not be tardy to anything. Do not give them a reason to mistrust you. At the bottom were the words scrawled. You can make it out of this. You will see your family again. I studied the note several times. What the hell was this? I shuddered. The note creeped me out, but it also confused the hell out of me. I decided that I would show it to Alex during breakfast. I had to show it to someone. I checked the clock, and it was 8:12. I didn't have much time. I sprinted down the stairs to the dining hall.